Welcome to Authentically You Podcast, the podcast that dives deep into a transformative journey of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-expression. I'm your host, Kirsty Hankin, and I'm here to guide you on a path towards embracing your true, unapologetic, authentic self. In this podcast, we'll embark on a quest to uncover the secrets to breaking free from societal expectations, shredding the masks we wear, and stepping into our own power. Each episode will explore the questions and challenges that our listeners face on their personal journeys, providing practical insights and heartfelt advice. But it doesn't stop there. Authentically You Podcast goes beyond just answering your questions. We're here to introduce you to a diverse lineup of incredibly knowledgeable professionals who will share their expertise, wisdom, and experiences. We'll bring you thought-provoking interviews that will inspire and empower you. This is Authentically You Podcast, unleashing life on your own terms. I'm Kirsty Hankin, and together, let's unlock the power within and live life authentically. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. We're in this together. Welcome to Authentically You Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I know that you're going to love today's guest. Today's guest was born and raised in Salem, Massachusetts, and is a witch, high priestess, psychic medium, and interfaith minister who has been working on embracing her magical side for over 10 years. She left the mundane work world to embrace being a witch on a full-time basis. She has been a full-time professional tarot reader, medium for 10 years now, and is finally learning that she is the magic. Welcome to the show, Debra.
Hi, thank you so much. I am honored that I get to be here and speak with you today. This is so amazingly cool.
It is so amazing. So cool. I can't wait to dive in and get to know you, Debra, and your journey and all the goodness. And I know there's going to be gold throughout the chat that we have today for the listeners. And firstly, though, I want to know what that feeling was when you gave notice to that regular job. Tell us about that, because I love hearing about people's feelings and how it made them feel. Handing in that notice, how did that feel?
It was the most empowering moment of my life. I'm older. At the time I was 52. Mm-hmm. My son is 28. The college loans were no longer on deferment, mortgage to pay. I worked for Costco, which I don't know. Do you have them out there?
We've got one. We've got one that has just been open about 6 months, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Phenomenal company to work for. They take really great care of their employees. So I had all the things I needed in my nest, but it wasn't in my heart.
Yeah.
And people were becoming pill bottles. I'm a pharmacy technician. And that wasn't okay with me, because everybody has a story. Mm-hmm. Everybody has pain in their heart. And nobody takes the time to stop and listen. Yeah. Because sometimes that's all it takes to help somebody heal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being in pharmacy, I was a healer. Mm-hmm. I am a healer as a psychic and a medium, and I needed more. And I had been graced with the opportunity to read in October in Salem, Massachusetts, Witch City, Hocus Pocus, all of those things filmed there. Yeah. Don't ever try to park there. It just will never happen. And I loved it so much that when I realized people weren't pill bottles, I wanted to embrace who I am and just own it 24/7 and live it and actually help people. Yeah. And the first day that I sat down, I had a window seat and the sun was shining down on me. And I was just sitting there and looking around going, wow, this is my life now. This is who I am. And I could breathe.
Yeah. That just brings a tear to my eye because I just know how empowering and how magical that would have felt. I can still feel it. That's so cool. So cool.
It really is. It's a gift. I mean,
Yeah.
if I didn't have the gift, I wouldn't have had the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So
If I didn't
when
have
did
the
you know that you
opportunity, I
had
couldn't have
these
the privilege.
gifts? When did you have you had them all your
The
life
whole
or?
funny story behind that.
Yeah.
When I was 6, my dad and I were visiting what was my great grandmother's house. She lived with my great aunt, and we were in this 3-season porch with our back towards the doorway back into the house. And we're just kind of playing on the piano. And you know how you feel sometimes somebody's watching you and you're
Mm-hmm.
like looking around? Well, I turned around and there was my Nana, who I knew alive, like spoke with her, remembered her, standing behind me with her arms crossed, just smiling and watching my dad and I, which was her grandson,
Yeah.
have a moment. And I jumped up, ran to the other side of the room because when you're 6, the walls protect you, as does your blanket from the floor of lava. So I kept my back to the wall, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And my father, he looked at me and he said, "What's up with you?" And I said, "I just saw Nana. I just saw Nana." And he's like, "Okay, it's your great grandmother. She's not going to hurt you. Why are you afraid?" And that was my actual aha moment, that spirit was people, loved ones, friends, and to not be afraid of them. Because that conversation could have just totally shut me off from
Absolutely. I was just
ever
going to say that.
pursuing. Yep. And that was my moment. His mother, my grandmother, very much intuitive into this. She had told me when I was younger that we have Romanian gypsies in the family, and I can see that. I can totally see that. My mom's side, there isn't any except for my mother. So somewhere, she picked it up. But you also can learn how to use it. Everybody has the ability. It's a muscle.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of fine tuning it if you choose to want to use it or shut it off. So with my mom, it was something that she was drawn to because she had a very close relationship with my grandmother, my father's mother. So it was, for me, like I didn't have to hide it. I wasn't the weird kid. My family embraced it with me and shared with me their experiences, which was so cool. Like you could just have these open conversations with your family.
Yeah. That's incredible. And like you said, that conversation could have been completely different and changed your whole life in that one moment. How incredible is that?
And a lot of other people's too, because the ones that I've helped,
Yes.
maybe they wouldn't have had the answer at the time that they needed to hear it. I don't know. I always believe that this is a chain reaction. For a reaction, there's a reaction. Like water, when you skip stones and it ripples out, that's destiny. It just keeps changing.
So when did you start? So you've sort of already been on your authentic journey right from when you were teeny weeny.
But I didn't know it. I
Yeah.
didn't know what the term medium was. I had no idea what was going on. Like it was just, and then I put it out of my mind.
Yeah.
Until my dad died. He passed away at 57 and he had a massive heart attack. And I never got to say goodbye to him. And I had been having experiences prior to that of seeing people that weren't here, but not clicking as to why or what was going on. Looking back, looking at the timeline, I now see that I was being prepared because I was going to lose my father. And my grandmother lived with him at the time of his passing. There is nothing more heart-wrenching than holding your elderly grandmother while she sobs that she should have gone and not her son.
Oh my God.
And my dad was my best friend. I was actually at a point in my life that both my mom and dad were my best friend, which, sometimes it takes a while. And it was a good feeling.
Yeah.
And then he was just gone. And my stepmother called me from the hospital. My mother drove me over, and it was a 7-minute drive, but it felt like forever. And I sat with him and I literally studied every part of his face, every line, because I knew I was never going to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to reach him and I couldn't on my own. And one day I was doing some errands in downtown Salem and something just said, "You're going to go see a psychic medium right now," which I had never done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, driving the car. I'm like, okay, voices in my head. Sure, we got you. And I walked in, and I will never forget this. I walked into the shop and I asked if there was a reader available. And they said, "Oh, we have one whose appointment just canceled. You can have that."
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe, no, witches do not believe in coincidences.
Yeah.
So I walked in and I said, "Hi, my name is Debra. I just want to know, are you a psychic and a medium? Because there's a lot of confusion. Every medium is psychic,
Mm-hmm.
but not every psychic is a medium."
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand that. They just assume it's all encompassing, and it's not.
Yeah.
So I asked her because I knew I didn't need a tarot reading. I needed a mediumship, which is
Mm-hmm.
communicating with the dead. And she said, "Before we even start, does the name Michael or Edward mean anything to you?" And I said, "My father's name is Edward Michael." And she said, "Oh my God, he's been with me for 2 weeks. Will you please sit down?" At which point my father proceeded to give me a whole ration of busting my chops from the other side. It was great. Now I have him all the time.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I have, it's, yeah. But he was really the driving force. And my grandmother, his mother, passed away when she was 100.
Wow.
And she would be so hungry to hear when I was doing my training and working on learning my mediumship skills, because at that point, I sought out a coven, which is a group of witches that practice magic together. Nothing evil. There's a lot of misconceptions about that as
There is a
well.
lot. Yes.
Yeah. Um, and with that group, I was then taught how to work my skills versus my skills just randomly popping in when they felt like it.
Right.
So
So
my
putting boundaries
grandmother
up.
was hungry. Oh yeah, because it's great when you're at the movie theater and you've got other people's relatives. Yeah, like I just want my popcorn. Just yeah. So you need to set up boundaries. And I was honing that in, and she was all interested in hearing my stories. And it was great because I got to share with her my journey.
Mm.
And those aren't normal conversations you have with your grandmother. "So what did you do in your coven class tonight?" Like, but that was, yeah, but that was my family. And that's what
Yeah.
made me so open to receiving messages.
That is amazing. I know there's a lot of people that haven't had that support and have had those inklings when they were younger. That's just makes me feel so special. Makes me feel the specialness that you guys had, that connection that you had. Do you think that when you were you couldn't connect with your dad after he passed, you think there was a boundary or something set that you were maybe a little bit afraid, or
Excellent question. It was actually the raw pain that was
Mhm.
blocking me.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
too close.
Yeah.
And once I was able to have somebody else help me unclog that
Mm-hmm.
blockage, it just flows. Like I have him all the time. My grandmother, which is a whole other, my whole life has just been like a crazy set of stories that just make my head go boom. Like, I can't believe this is me.
Yeah.
Um, and she's with me, he's with me. And it was literally that raw pain. With my
Mm.
grandmother, I didn't have that raw pain. She was 100. She
Yeah.
said, "I've done it all. I've seen it all. I'm bored now. I'm done." She literally said that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, at that point, bless you, go on the next
Yeah.
part of your journey. Get out of here already. Just go. She was
Yeah.
just
So you really got to
full of
say
life right
goodbye,
till the end.
essentially.
Yeah.
Mm.
But people passing, there are different types of emotions. Some are easier when they're transitioning versus the ones that are just gutting, absolutely
Yeah.
gutting the pain that, yeah, it just drops you to your knees.
Yeah. And I've experienced that. My sister's fiance pretty much dropped dead in front of us. I did CPR for a long, well, I don't even know how long. It felt like hours. And it was heart disease in the end that we figured out later on. But he had a 2-year-old little boy and a little girl on the way. And it was just tragedy, you know, just taken away
I'm
without
so
a
sorry.
goodbye or anything. Well, it's okay. When I know you'll be able to explain this, what happens when people die? What happens? Tell us. Well, I don't know where to go from there, but what happens?
Not to try to change anybody's personal belief system.
Mm-hmm.
This is my viewpoint as a witch, as a trained magician, just working in between the worlds.
Yeah.
We are energy.
Mm-hmm.
We are pure energy. Our soul is energy. This is a meat suit. Personally,
Mm-hmm.
I want mine taken in a few inches, but it's a meat suit. The soul is who we are. So when we cross, we're leaving the mortal coil. People have a misconception that when they cross over and they go on the next part of their journey, we won't be able to speak to them again. We're not sheep. We don't keep jumping.
Mm-hmm.
When this suit shuts down, that's when we're transitioning. That's it. But because we're pure energy, you could slice it a gazillion times, but the DNA is still the DNA. So the part of, let's say, your grandmother that comes to visit you is always going to be that person that was on this realm.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that part of her is doing what we call a life review, because we don't believe in a heaven or hell. We believe in educating so that we can improve. It's kind of like a video game. That's how I like to describe it. You have to finish a level before you can go on to the next one. So when we reincarnate, and that's why I preface with saying everybody's belief system, because not everyone does believe in that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But reincarnation is kind of like watching the computer wheel spin, because each time you come back, you're still doing the same cycle, different people, but you're learning a lesson until you figure out what the heck it is that you keep doing over and over, like Groundhog Day, that you need to fix. Once you fix it, now you're going to go on a different part of your journey. Mm-hmm. But the people with every life that you come back into, that part of you is always going to be with them. The question I get a lot is, what if they were married more than once? What happens?
Yeah.
The piece of energy that was with each one of those people was a life of its own. So the energy would split. There's no fighting about spousal things up there. There's a piece that belongs to each one of those people.
Yeah.
You and a sister could have a dream about a grandmother on the same night. Mm-hmm. First of all, dreams are visits. They're not dreams. That's why they're so vivid. But you're both having one because she's visiting both of you at the same time. But your visits are tailored to you individually because it's your time with her. But you both actually had time with her. The body holds all of the pain, whether it's mental or physical, any addictions, diseases, it stays with the body. Relatives that couldn't stand each other and would have to be sat at separate tables, or there'd be like a really bad dispute on TV, they get along on the other side because they realize what a waste of energy that was and how stupid it was. Yeah. And let it go, because emotions are what make us make bad choices.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Our gut is like a courtroom, and it's going to drag you wherever you need to go, because your gut, that burn, is your soul. That's really you. Mm-hmm. So emotions don't go with when we pass. They stay with the body. Mm-hmm. So people that may have been adamant, tattoos are horrible, you shouldn't have one. On the other side, they don't have a feeling about it. Mm-hmm. So they may say, it's pretty, in a message, and they'll be like, they never, because the emotion part is gone.
Yeah.
We use words to correlate so people understand what they are feeling, because it's hard to translate that. It's not an actual feeling like we have.
Mm-hmm.
But they're wherever we need them to be when we need them.
Yeah.
We feel them. They're our front line.
Yeah.
They are our guardian angels.
Love that.
You also have archangels. You have
Mm-hmm.
spirit guides. You have a whole army behind you at all times.
Yeah.
But the front line is family, friends, loved ones that you've lost.
I love that.
Always.
Always there with you. It's funny when you mentioned about our bodies are just, what did you say, a meat
A meat suit.
a meat suit. I love that, and it really put it into perspective. Not that I took notice of it at the time, but now I'm like, of course. When my sister's fiance died, and he was in the coffin in Awake, I think it was, where we could go visit the body. The first time I saw him, I was like, oh my God, it looks like just a plastic nothing. It was like, this is really weird. But I was like, well, obviously the soul's gone and he's actually not actually here. It's just the body. And that was such a weird sensation, a weird thing to see. It's like, it is the person, but it's not.
But it's
It is
not.
just a body, a meat suit, as you say.
Yeah. And it hit me with my dad when I
Yeah.
was looking at every line, and I'm like, he's not there. It does. And I guess I kind of understand a little bit the purpose of Awake. I know it's for the living, but at the same time, my personal belief is I don't want to remember them as that mannequin.
Yeah.
I want to celebrate them. And that's what they want. They want to be remembered and the stupid, embarrassing stories told. They want to be part of life, because every time you say their name, you're keeping them here.
Yeah.
You're sharing their love. You're teaching people who they are. They don't want you to cry. They want to go with you on these vacations and the funerals. I mean, not the funerals, the wakes to me are just so human.
Yeah, very human.
Yeah, because it's all about the emotions.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say it's all about giving people time to grieve, and that is all very much emotion, isn't it? Grieving.
Oh, yes.
All emotion.
And not everybody does it. They swallow it. They hold it in to be the support for everybody else. Yeah.
I'm going to put my hand up right there. Exactly what I did for 7 years.
Can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you a secret? It's okay to cry and let it out once in a while, and let those that you're holding up hold you up, because it makes that bond even stronger. It's not a sign of weakness to show tears.
It's funny that you say that, because once he passed, sometimes I think I'm an emotional wreck. Like, I cried anything, like a TV ad or a cat crossing the road that's really cute, or, I cry now. Like, it sort of released something from me that allowed me to be authentic in that sense. Like, if I'm emotional, I can cry. I don't hold it back anymore. Probably there might be the occasion that I still do, but I think we still do that with everything. Every now and then we hold something back. So we're still learning. But yeah, since that time, I've learned to just, like, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, calm down, Kirsty. Like, get control of yourself. But then I'm like, no, it needs to flow. Let's go.
Let it out. Yeah. Well, tears are salt water, and salt water cleanses and purifies.
True.
So you're cleansing and purifying yourself, because you will find as I keep gabbing, I am the analogy queen. So everything to me, this is how my brain works. Everything has to be an analogy. We're like Instapots or pressure cookers. We have to let some of the steam out in order to keep things going. So the releasing of the tears is that you're cleansing. It's like stepping into the ocean. You're releasing. So you have to make room.
Yeah.
If you're gonna hold it in, you got to keep a little bit of space there for more.
Gosh,
This is always
that reminds me, it's the same thing with everything essentially then, isn't it? Because I just had a conversation the other day about letting people go. And you know, some people just aren't meant to be with you, and it keeps you unaligned, keeping them around. And sometimes it's quite difficult to let those people, they might be close to you. But again, if we don't let go of that energy, that negativity, we're not allowing the goodness and good energies coming into us. Oh my gosh.
so. Can I jump on the tail end of that
Of
conversation?
course. Go
Because
for
I'm like,
it. I
so
love it.
every relationship serves a purpose.
Yep.
Some are long term, and that's that ebb and flow of energy. You give, you take, you give, you take. So your cup is always full.
Mm.
But then you have those that come in for a very specific purpose in your life. Perhaps it is to have that one child. People are supposed to get married or to be connected to have a child, that specific child, because again, DNA is DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So their purpose was to make that individual, that human being, and then they break up. But they got something from it. They gave each other something from it. Going back to my video game reference, these people that come into our life for a certain period have that one key that nobody else in the entire universe has that will help open the door for us to go to the next level. They have a purpose in our life. So with breakups, and again, it's emotion, and I'm just as guilty.
Yeah.
I ask people to try to take that pain and that anger or whatever the negative feelings are and bring them inward to heal yourself, because it's like leaving the windows open in the winter. You're not, that energy is just going out. You're not getting anything for it. And it's only going to hurt you more. But instead, thank them in your heart for that one gift they gave you to help you grow. And it's hard, but reframing and rephrasing things, oh, it's a game changer. Because then you make the magic. That's when you take control, because you get what you project.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that. Is that sort of like taking the silver lining from any sort of situation, like pulling the positives from any situation, no matter what it
And
is?
it's hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to dig.
Yeah.
It's there. It's always there.
Yeah. You can always find the positive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the layers, when you're going through your authentic journey, it is all about the layers as well, isn't it? So it might be,
Oh my God, so much.
I love the way that you're talking about next level, like in gaming, because I've always thought of it as like onion, same, but I was like, oh, that's a
Yes.
nice one, like next level.
And I actually use onion when I'm talking about grieving. So that's so funny.
Oh. So on your authentic journey, well, first of all, I want to ask you, from your young age of being able to see spirits and people that have passed over, and you had that really good experience of your family accepting and helping you, what can you do or say to someone that, obviously not that young, but that someone might be experiencing it now but just has no idea how to control it, set boundaries, or how can they get more control over it and understand what it is?
The first part is to picture yourself in some type of a protective shield, whether it's a bright white light or whatever. When you close your eyes and you see yourself surrounded by something, that's your safe place, because nothing can penetrate that. I like to think of it as a shield of Teflon, but I can still move in it, because nothing's going to stick to it. It's not going to bother me, because it's about setting the boundaries. And people, spirit or people. So it's as if I was talking to you and I'd be like, okay, now it's my time. I'll talk to you tomorrow. The store is closed. because spirit are people, and it's setting that boundary. Just like if you have a friend that calls when you say, don't call me right now, and they freaking call you anyway, and you're like, oh, so you just let it, decline because you're setting that boundary.
Yeah.
You have to do that with spirit, and that takes training. And the hardest part is getting out of your own head.
Mm.
Because if you have an idea of what it is, but not really sure how to use it, when you are trying to get messages, which takes practice, meditations, there are exercises to do to kind of strengthen and open your third eye. When people say, well, I think I'm getting, and I'm like, and you're done. Stop.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to think. We are like, it's a telephone. We hear what they say. We are the voice box.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. We're not supposed to think about it. It's not our message. It's not going to make sense to us. But we as people have the need to try to make a square peg fit in a round hole. And then we start to dot our abilities. And then that goes down a whole other rabbit hole. So it's learning how to feel when you get something correct in one of the meditation exercises. And I ask people, pay attention to what you physically felt in your body. Was there a tingling? Did you get like an urgent, like a giddy feeling? What is it? Pay attention to everything around you and watch as a pattern. Did it happen the next time you got it? Okay, so that's how you want to make sure when you're connecting with spirit that you're feeling that. Because if that's the physical feeling you have, then you've stepped out of the way to let spirit really give a message.
I love that.
But it's hard. It's practice.
Yeah.
And there are different techniques.
And in this day and age as well, with society being so fast paced and left, right, and center, and our minds everywhere, it's really hard to actually get that awareness and control back to just being aware of what's going on right here, right now, isn't it?
It's very important when doing spell work that you leave the mundane world outside of your magic circle. Because magic is slow, methodic, intent, pure, focused. All the clutter, all the noise around us stays outside of that magic circle. It's like we have a dome over it. You do not bring it in with you. You stay focused. And even if you're doing your own work, you don't have to be in a coven to do magic, to work spells. And spells aren't, people go, oh, you're hexing, you're cursing. No. I could be doing a spell to help you heal, to give you a boost of self-confidence, protection. They're not, when COVID was going on, I counted the candles I had going on my altar one day, and it was 78 candles.
Wow.
78 candles were ablaze for a healing spell. That's not evil. That's not bad. And people associate that. But you have to keep the quiet in the bubble and everything else out. It's critical.
Easier said than done, isn't it? But it takes practice. And the more
it
that
takes
you do
practice.
the more that you do it, the more that it becomes easier and part of you, right?
We have an expression, suffer to learn. Boy, sometimes you do suffer. But it's like, so one of my guides is a phoenix, and the phoenix represents rising from the ash to be the best version of yourself. It's about rebirth. What a lot of people may not be aware of is that the phoenix burned herself alive. She sacrificed herself to be reborn. Like childbirth, which hurts an awful lot, so does rebirth, because we are birthing ourselves. We are shedding a layer of skin. Like if you fell off your bike and scraped your arm, that hurts. That's your rebirth. So it's gonna hurt. But like childbirth, when you come out the other side and you are this amazingly powerful woman, person, anything, doing your best work, you forget about the pain.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about, because I've got a little 3-year-old, and I think I need to do a little bit of work on my birth with him because it was very traumatic experience. So when you were saying you come out the other side, I was like, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I think I need to do some work
Yes,
on
they do.
that.
Yes, they do. It's like, oh, but you forget the minute you hold them.
Yeah, it's such a
I honestly can't remember. I know it hurt. I can tell you it hurt, but I can't describe the pain because it was erased the minute I held him.
and that's what I call well when I'm coaching, the freedom. So when you're going through pain, when you're going through fear, when you're going through that sort of thing, like you said, you're rebirthing. And on the other side of that, you have to just keep going. I mean, in birth, you don't have a choice. You just have to keep going. But those other situations where you could go, this is too hard. I'm going to go back over here to my comfort zone. And, this is good. To grow as a person, you need to keep moving through that pain or fear to get to the freedom, the feeling of
Exactly.
just yay,
And it
wow,
goes
awesome.
so deep because you have to continuously, like you said, push yourself out of that comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
in order to grow. But the healing part is what we call shadow work because you are going inside of you to figure out what is making you want to stay in your comfort zone. Why are you repeating a pattern? It goes back to the patterns. If you look at everything in life, like relationships, dating, let's just say dating,
Yeah.
you may find there's a pattern of personality types that you're gravitating towards that may not be the healthiest.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to go back inside of yourself to figure out where you were when that emotion, feelings,
Yeah.
was born. Because we're not born with emotions. Situations birth them. Happiness, trauma, frightened. So the healing part is getting in touch with that version of ourselves, let's say maybe a 4-year-old version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we can't break that pattern of bad people in our life was because something traumatic happened at that point, or traumatic to that 4-year-old brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes us have a cord attached, like a bungee cord. So every time we try to do it differently, that 4-year-old goes, and pulls us back.
Mm.
But when we make peace with that part of ourselves, like the chakras aligning, we're literally becoming one with ourselves. The Russian nesting dolls, I don't know if they're like you have a big one and then you put like all different sizes and you get a
Yep.
little tiny one.
Yep.
I kind of look at us like that because, again, meat suit. But each part of us that we're healing, like that 4-year-old, goes into that doll until we are literally one. And that's when we're able to really explode into that rebirth because we have cut all of the cords, all of the things that we thought we needed to do
Mm-hmm.
because we just have this programming hardwired that we are supposed to do everything to make everybody else happy. We're supposed to be this type of a person, take this type of a job, not associate with these people. And we do it because that's what we're taught. But
Yeah.
the catch to all of that is every generation rebels from the one before
Mm-hmm.
because that generation is trying to force square peg round hole their belief system because that's what they were taught. But we're changing, we're growing, so that doesn't
Yeah.
fit. So we're literally having to hardwire and rewire our own brain to no, it's okay for me to say no to my mother. I don't want to be a veterinarian. You learn that it's not disrespectful. You learn to speak up and hold yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when that power flows. And
And
you
you can
feel it.
do that in a nice way. You don't have to be nasty about it, can you?
Absolutely. Nope, absolutely. It's just learning to set boundaries, just like parents did with us. You had to be in by 7 o'clock. Well, my age, it was when the flaps came on outside, and before that, just go play with dirt and sticks. Yeah, that was a thing. Yes, I'm old. But everybody has boundaries.
Yeah.
Knock on the door before you come in if it's closed. That's a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
It's not disrespectful. It's not being rude.
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many ways to have that conversation that it doesn't have to be another traumatic experience.
Yeah. Mm.
Especially with parents, because if you come at them with logic, not emotion, now they don't look at you as a child, because
Yes.
a child is all emotion. Now they're going to listen to what you're saying because you're making your decisions based off of your gut, which is the courthouse, which is fact, and you cannot argue fact. You don't have to like it, but you don't have an argument.
Yeah.
And they look at you completely differently.
My son does that to me sometimes, and I'm like, and he's only 3. And I'm like,
yeah, my son
okay.
did that to me. I'm like, look it.
Yeah. It's like, hey,
Brought you
the
in,
adult
could take you out. Just telling you.
So what I have noticed with doing all of these podcasts is that everyone is coming into their authenticity later in life. Like, we are getting caught up with societal expectations, what we need to be doing, what we should be doing. And it's later in life, like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, where we're sort of realizing, actually, I'm not really that happy. I'm not feeling like my true self. And that's when the sort of self-discovery, exploration starts happening. And I don't know what my question is about this, but I'm like, I find it really fascinating that the majority of people are a little bit later in life. Do you have anything to say about that?
I honestly have sat with so many people doing tarot readings after COVID because we had a lot of time to think about what a priority was. And as we were discussing earlier, we're just so busy doing everything. We don't slow down. We don't stop. We had to stop. We were forced to stop.
Yeah.
Families actually got to meet each other because their faces weren't down on their phones, texting from the other side of the sofa. But I noticed a huge change when people were like, this is not a job I want to do. Because the bottom line, we don't know when we're done here. We don't know. Do you want to spend, even if it's 5 years or 50 years, doing a job that you are doing just because it's a paycheck and there's no feeling to it, and not take a chance to live? Or do you want to live for however many years you're going to be here? And that was the pivotal moment for a lot of the people that I sat with, that I saw a pattern. We always watch for patterns and signs as witches. It's a thing. It's like the Matrix. We're always watching all this little stuff because there's always a connection, a connection. Just like when you were saying you've seen a trend where it's the age group. I definitely feel, from my perspective, what I've seen, a lot of it had to do with the pandemic and people realizing priorities needed to be reset.
Do you think that's why there was a pandemic?
I honestly believe that Mother Nature cleans house once in a while. And I'm not saying that the people that we lost were bad people or anything like that, but I feel it's almost like shaking up a snow globe. You have to reset. It's like she's resetting us because we're getting out of control and we need to stop and have a timeout. Literally have Mother Nature put us in a timeout. That we had to sit and think about our life. And then when we could behave, we could start coming out again. Literally. We all got punished.
Well, here in New Zealand, in Auckland, so the whole country was in lockdown for a little bit, and then just our city was in lockdown for over 100 days, and it was horrible because the rest of the country were just doing whatever they needed to do, whatever they wanted to do. They were having a good time and they forgot about us. They forgot about us sitting at home, and it was horrible. It was really, really horrible. How you said about a reset in Mother Nature, my belief, and it's not anyone else's belief, I'm not taking anyone else, I don't expect anyone to jump on board with me, but I believe that Mother Nature, all of the earthquakes, all of the natural disasters that are happening, is Mother Nature telling us maybe that we've got too many people on Earth, something's not quite right, and she's sorting it out. So it's the same sort of thinking about the COVID.
Fully agree. Yeah.
And I hadn't
And
thought about
I'm getting
COVID.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about, as witches, we work with many deities, many gods, archangels. My people say, well, do you work with one specific? No, because if I need a plumber, I'm not going to call a carpenter. I'm going to ask the god or goddess that's their wheelhouse to help me out. No disrespect to all the other deities, but that's a thing.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about Zeus and all that, I mean, yes, they do things. They make things happen.
Yeah.
Mother Nature saw that we were destroying ourselves. We were destroying the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So all the time that the cars weren't driving, the air quality got better.
Yeah.
Trees started to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Water got cleaner
And
because
here
people
in
weren't
New
throwing
Zealand,
things in it.
I've noticed some birds that haven't been around for a long time, that are like the beautiful native New Zealand birds, are actually come back into the city. Like at my house, I can hear them, and it's like, oh my God, you don't realize that they were disappeared, that they're gone, but they're back.
Because we don't take the time to stop.
Yeah.
We have an expression, I don't know if you have it, take time to stop and smell the roses. And it's true. Because you've planted this beautiful garden, but if you're not going to sit out back and enjoy it, why did you bother? Life's too short, and you have to truly embrace it before you regret it.
Yeah. And
spend it with the people that you love. And one of the big things that I tell people, as morbid as it may sound, keep voicemails, take videos, even if it's at the end, make an arrangement with them, ask them, when you come back to visit me, how do I know it's going to be you? Ask for a sign from them. So perhaps you see a hummingbird in your yard, and that was something that they said. That's them. Yeah. Think about what you were thinking at that point in time. Were you asking them for help or validation that they were there? And then you see the hummingbird. But take the time to make the packs, record the messages, because when you're at your lowest and you miss them and it hurts, you can hear them. You can see them. It's not the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems with COVID was the inability to touch another human, because human touch is very healing. And when you don't have the person you love around you anymore, and you know they're there, you could talk to them, but it's the touch. You can't touch them. So it's almost forcing us to take that time to touch, to be with, to make the memories, to take the videos, to all the silly thing. Look at how much TikTok blew up. Yeah. Because people were making memories. That stuff's going to be out on the internet forever. But people made memories. They did silly things. They weren't being all stuffy and professional. They were having fun with their families. Which is what life's all about, isn't it? It's supposed to be. Probably at their happiest, even though it was not the greatest time. Yeah. That's what life should be. And I've had a wake-up call with my 3-year-old son. He is always wanting to play, wanting to do things, and I catch myself every now and then going, no, I've got to do this. And it's like, do I actually have to do that? Can I just spend a minute? Can I spend 2 minutes with him playing with what he wants to do? And really trying to bring out my inner child
and really enjoy it, because once you get that inner child out, oh, it's a new vibration, it's a new frequency, isn't it?
So when that happened to me, I was making Elmo from Sesame Street out of my son's Play-Doh, and my mother told me it was time for me to go back an adult. But I guess I was embracing my inner child a little too much at that point. But I loved doing arts and crafts with my son. I loved baking with him. I loved getting dirty. I didn't care.
Yeah.
You can always take a tub. You can
Yeah.
always wash it off. But if he wants to get his hands dirty and play in the mud, let him. You could throw the clothes in the laundry. The world is not going to stop spinning on its axis.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that after my dad passed away, and I just kind of threw myself into academia because I was bored, and I thought, well, okay, I'm like 35. I can go back to college to get a degree. Had no plans to use a degree, but and I was sitting on my son's soccer field with my nose in my history book, and I missed a goal.
Mm-hmm.
That goal I will never see again. I missed an opportunity. And I said, you know what? My priority is my son, because I don't know how much time he's going to have me or I am going to have him.
Yeah.
Books went away, focus was on my son. It was that moment, like yourself, that you went, no, time to reprioritize.
Yeah. And it's sometimes, and it's a shame that it sometimes is just your child. Or maybe there's other points in your life. Death of a friend or a family member is when you go, I need to start prioritizing myself, realign, reassess, check what I want to be doing with my life. And it's a shame that it takes something like that to make us do that, when we should be maybe checking in on the weekly or the daily or the monthly or however it feels best for us, to make sure that we are being the best that we can be and moving towards our true authentic self.
Absolutely. Because when you hit that, there is no going back.
And the world is your oyster, as they say.
Yes. And you really feel it. It's crazy. Just like life, the best way to describe it, it feels like life is Technicolor.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it makes me feel so good. So everyone listening, make sure that you're moving towards your authentic self. What's one step that they can do today that has worked for you, and you know that it has worked for others, that they can do to move towards their authentic self?
Reframe and rephrase. These are affirmations that I would love for you to say to yourself daily. I am, I will, I can. However you want to finish them. Look in the mirror and say those affirmations to yourself every day, because you're putting it out to the universe. You're working the magic. You're telling the higher powers that you're ready for this. You're not asking, you're telling.
Yeah.
And you're owning it. And it's okay to be scared. I like to say, fake it till you make it, because you carry yourself and you look people in the eye and they don't know that you're trembling in your shoes. They don't need to.
Yeah.
Because as you carry yourself like that, you'll be given the empowerment, the respect, and then you grow into that suit completely and you own it. And there's nothing like losing weight and being able to zip up your favorite dress and have it fit.
Yeah, love that. So what was the other question I had in my mind just then? No, it's gone. If someone would, yeah, that's gone. If someone would like to work with you, how can they go about that, and what are you sort of offering?
So they can, I have two businesses because, overachiever over here. The psychic medium part is one business. And if they would be interested in having a tarot reading, I would be more than happy to do 50% off, because it is an energy exchange. So that's something that's a little bit more harder to do for free for several people, because it does take energy. But bending Absolutely. And the half hour tarot gives you an idea of what's coming up in your life, or if you're trying to figure out, do I take road A or road B, how it will play out. It's a guide and it is strictly a roadmap. And I just want to put out there before anyone freaks out, the death card is not, I repeat, is not about death. It is about transitioning in life, like career, marital status. It is not in any way, shape, or form talking about death in the literal sense. It may be metaphorical about you're transitioning out with the old and with the 2.0, but no dead people on that. There are so many misconceptions and people shy away from tarot because of that, when it's actually a very enlightening tool, because free will is always yours and you get to make that decision if you do take road A or B. I'm just showing you what your options are. So that would be 50% off. So I normally charge 90 for a half an hour. So I would be honored to do it for the 45 for the half. The other part of my crazy overachieving self, speaking of the Elmo and Play-Doh, I am now a crafter. And I know that's shocking to everybody. Please, I'm sorry. I'll give you a minute to recoup. But I make candles, I make magical tools. So a lot of my candles are intention candles, prosperity, health, love, protection. And I infuse them with scents and herbs and stones that correlate with the intention that I'm putting into that candle. So we call it, it's called a fully dressed candle. So I've done all the magical work and you light it. And I'm actually sitting here with my prosperity candle going, because,
Nice.
and you meditate on it for what you're looking for. So I've already put the magic in you, just stirring it up by lighting it and thinking about what you want. So I would love to offer a free candle if somebody wanted to start working on some of their own goals. Just let me know, whether it's love, prosperity, healing, and protection. Those are the ones that I infuse. And then I have regular mundane muggle, as I like to joke and say, but it's not really like scented candles, like cinnamon. And I did one for Halloween. I did it. It's called Poison Apple. And so I do, and they're all hand poured soy candles. So they can have their choice if they want either a half off on a tarot reading, or if they'd like a 10-ounce plain scented candle or an 8-ounce dressed magical candle for free. The candles will be free.
Amazing. Thank you. So with your 50% off and with your candles, we're going to give it to the first 5 people to get in contact with you. And they can either choose one or the other. Is that right?
That's correct. I do Zoom or telephone for the tarot readings. Personally, I like Zoom because I like to look at the people. It's just more personal, but that doesn't mean that you won't get an accurate reading if we just do it over the telephone. But I do want to just put out there that that is an option. And the candle of their choice would be free. The readings are half off. And either way, it's a win-win.
It is.
You'll get something that you're supposed to have.
That is amazing. That is a perfect, amazing opportunity. So whoever is listening to this right now, get in touch with Debra to get your candle or your tarot reading.
Your hand in magic, one way or the other. Whether it's lighting something or reading something.
And I'm really glad that you cleared up the death card in tarot, because I know that it's not meaning death, but like you said, so many people think
thank you, Hollywood.
And it's not that at all. And I think there's a misconception about a lot of things, isn't there? I mean, we could do a whole new
oh my god we're like a series, the misconceptions behind witchcraft, and we can talk about the seances and oh my goodness gracious.
Love that. So just want to
Hollywood definitely makes our work difficult.
Exactly. We're going to try and get that awareness out to people so that the misconceptions aren't misconceptions anymore. It's our mission. And so I just want to finish off with a couple of questions, fun questions for you. If authenticity were a color, what color would it be for you and why?
It would be purple. That was the first color that came to my mind. A darker purple, not like a lavender, but a dark purple, because to me that is just you're healing and you're going, like if you have a bruise, it goes purple and then it goes away because I'm coming out. I'm healing. I'm embracing the good. As weird as that sounds.
That's interesting that you mentioned the bruising. That's if you could be an animal to express your true self, which animal would you choose and how does it represent you?
So funny story on that. I'm a Cancer Leo. I was born 6 seconds before Leo. So I joke that I'm a crabby lion and I'll either crawl into myself or I will shred you. And my father had a nickname for me, Fang, because I would verbally dissect you in 2.4 seconds and you had no clue what happened to you. So I'm going to go with lion. Just saying.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks, Dad.
Love you, Dad. If you had a magic wand and everyone in the world had to follow one ruling that you create, what would it be?
Be kind to people.
Mm-hmm.
Treat people like you want to be treated.
Imagine the world if everyone was doing that.
John Lennon wasn't far off. I try to imagine it all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe we will get there someday.
Yeah, we will.
Maybe not our generation.
Yeah.
But we as a human race will get there someday. And we will all be able to look down and be proud.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I look forward to that. And the last thing is, what last words do you have for our listeners? Some advice, a download, something that you feel is super important for authenticity, becoming authentically you, anything.
Don't be afraid to try. Failing is not trying. Mm-hmm. And then you have a lifetime of woulda, shoulda, couldas. And embrace the goddess in you, because that makes you hold yourself up and own that you can do whatever you want, because you can, because you matter, and you do leave a footprint. Mm-hmm. And you deserve it.
Beautiful last words, Debra. Absolutely amazing and totally meaningful for exactly what we want to try and achieve here. So thank you for that. Thank you for actually being the most amazing guest ever. It has been beautiful chat, so easy and full of greatness that I'm sure all the listeners are going to go away and just go, wow, that was incredible. And hopefully all listeners maybe listen to it a couple of times so you pick up on everything, because there's a lot of gold in that in this episode. So please make sure you do that. But thank you, Debra, for being here. You're absolutely amazing.
My honor. I can't thank you enough. And to whoever took the time to spend tonight, thank you for giving me a chance and listening to me.
Of course. And everyone else, we will see you in the next episode. Take care, be strong, and talk to you soon. Mwah! Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Authentically You Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained some valuable insights. If you'd like to stay connected with us, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and follow us on social media. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Kirsty Impact Coach, or Become Authentically You on the Facebook group. We'd love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and ideas for future episodes. Feel free to drop us a message or leave a review. Your input means the world to us as we continue to grow and improve. Remember, living authentically is a journey, and we're so glad and grateful to have you with us on this path of self-discovery and personal growth. Until next time, always remember to be true to yourself. Embrace your uniqueness and live life unapologetically, because you are truly remarkable just the way you are. This is Kirsty, signing off on the Authentically You podcast. Take care and keep shining bright.